morning, guys. Welcome to Liverpool FC Wire podcast, The Wire Live. We are live this afternoon here on the channel. Obviously, please smash a like on the video. Obviously, subscribe to the channel as well as we seek to continue to grow our channel. Thank you very much, guys, for your support. We've done really well over the last couple of days. Real growth in the channel. We're currently sitting at 357 subscribers. Some great responses to our videos. Thank you so much for those responses. But look, it's only halfway. We're not even halfway there. We're not even halfway on our journey to 1,000 subscribers. Look, guys, we understand. We know that until we get to that 1,000 subscribers here on the channel, there's only so much you can do. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers, then we can really kick on and grow. And obviously, YouTube pushes your content that little bit more once you get to that 1,000 subscriber mark. So please, of course, help us by subbing to the channel. Look, it's been a weird week, a very strange week in the life of Liverpool Football Club. I think, you've got the petition, which is obviously doing the rounds, which I think, again, has caused an awful lot of, division. It seems to me that everything at this moment in time with this football club causes division. In the fan base, you've got people who are pro-slot, people who are anti-slot. You've now got the people who, don't want people signing this petition and say that it turns the club into a laughing stock. And then you've got others who are saying that obviously, people have every right to sign with to sign this petition, and it's their right, and it's getting crazy. It is getting crazy out there, and I think we're kind of in some degree forgetting that there's 2 games left to go. There's actually 2 football matches left. Obviously, the first one comes up on Friday against Aston Villa at Villa Park. I think that'll be, again, an interesting game, and we'll look more ahead to that, obviously before the game and building up to the game. I think it's obviously interesting for the fact that you never know what's going to happen with Villa on that day. Yes, Villa are still chasing top 4, but they will very much have their eyes on the prize. They'll have their eyes on the Europa League final, which happens during the week. They'll want to win the Europa League. They'll want to get into the Champions League that way, and also get a major European trophy. So it'll be interesting to see how they go about that, and the type of team that Unai Emery puts out on Friday, and the type of team that Slot puts out on Friday. And then obviously the season finishes against Brentford at Anfield. And it's going to be, no matter where we are with the managerial situation, it's going to be an emotional one, isn't it? Obviously it'll be Mo's last game. Hopefully Mo gets to start and play in that game. And obviously Andy Robertson, again, hope he gets to start and play in that game. It's Andy Robertson's last game as well for the club. So it's going to be an emotional end to the season. It really is, with 2 real club legends moving on to pastures new, wherever it is they may end up going. And look, I think, everybody talks about Mo possibly going to Saudi Arabia. I don't think Mo goes to Saudi Arabia. I think Mo takes football far more seriously than that. And I think he will want to go to another club in Europe and continue to play in Europe. I think possibly a league where it's a little bit slower, a little bit less intense than the Premier League. The Premier League certainly has that level of intensity, doesn't it, and speed, and you look at, maybe that's one of the reasons why Mo's dropped off this season. So maybe we look at, maybe he goes to Spain or to Italy, where the pace is that little bit less than it is here in England. It's interesting to find out where he is going to head off to. Of course, we had the message this week that, look, I'm still not 100% sold. As much as it got me really down the other night and really depressed the other night about Arne Slot, staying. David Ornstein comes out with his comment, basically saying that Liverpool intend to continue with Arne Slot into next season. You've then got Fabrizio Romano as well, backing that up. But, reports again this morning that the end of season review will still take place, that there will still be an end of season review into this season, into what has gone wrong this season. Because, let's face it, an awful lot has gone wrong this season. And you kind of hope that maybe that whoever undertakes that review, whether that be Mike Gordon, whether that be Michael Edwards, whether that be John W. Henry, whether that be Tom Werner, whoever undertakes the review, does so in a very calm, very logical manner, and looks at things and looks at the season as it's gone. A season that was never meant to be a transition season, a season that never was a transition season. And I think that false narrative that is built up around this season, that it's a transition season, it is the one that the Slotites and the pro-slot crowd try to put across to save his bacon. It never was meant to be that. we go back to the summer when Liverpool were signing Wirtz and Kitike and Frimpong and Kerkez and Isak. All the talk was of building a team to repeat as Premier League champions, a team that would compete in the Champions League, a team that would compete for the 2 domestic cups as well, a team that would compete on all 4 levels. And then once the season started to go south and it started to all go wrong, we suddenly had a massive change of narrative, didn't we? Oh, it's a transition season. It's about changing. It's about moving on. It's about changing the style. And then Slot's questioned and he's asked, well, why are we changing the style from a style that won the league last season to a new style? Oh, I'm not changing the style. I haven't changed the style, which is just a load of rubbish, because you're saying that we're transitioning from one to another, but then we're not doing that. But it is a transition season. Load of rubbish again from Liverpool Football Club coming out of the club, saying that it's mitigating factors. It's not mitigating. Mitigating factors are, again, we talk about with the Jota situation, the Diogo Jota death. Jota dying is not a mitigating factor. It was never a mitigating factor. When Liverpool were winning 5 games at the start of the season, was that ever mentioned? Was that ever brought up? Was it ever talked about as being a mitigating factor? No, it wasn't. And as I said on the videos the other day, I think to say it is a mitigating factor is disrespectful to Diogo Jota's memory. It's disrespectful to Diogo Jota's family. It's trying to find an excuse for gross incompetence and gross negligence by the manager. So I think that is very disrespectful. So again, not a mitigating factor. There is no mitigation for Arne Slot's underperformance this season. It's all down to him. It's down to his tactical ineptitude. It's down to his just lack of knowing what to do. It's down to the fact that he plays players constantly out of position. You've got a right back at right wing, a right back on the bench, and you play a centre midfielder at right back. It just beggars belief. It really does. So, I think there is no mitigating factors. And I'm going to come back to what I said on this morning's video before we move on, and just say this. If FSG, if Michael Edwards, if Richard Hughes are so convinced that Arne Slot is the man for the future, he is Liverpool's head coach, he is the only answer in that position, then please, could someone tell me why he has not had a new contract offered? Why is there no new contract then? Why has that not been done? Because if you are so convinced, if you are so focused that this man is your future, that this man is the answer to all your managerial needs, then why would you not give him a new contract? Now, one of the conversations that seems to be going around at this moment in time, which I've seen mentioned on multiple sources, is the fact that there is no new contract on the table. There is no new contract being offered to Arne Slot. You know, that no one has talked to this contract. No one is putting a contract down for him. And the FSG and Liverpool Football Club are quite happy for Arne Slot to enter the last 12 months of his contract and manage the club next season with 1 year left on his deal. Now, as we know, there is an issue with that, because if you enter the last 12 months of your deal as a manager, you lose a little bit of authority. You lose a bit of that power at the top. Now, according to reports this morning, there is talk that Arne Slot and his representatives have asked Liverpool's hierarchy for clarity over a new contract. And Slot is apparently saying that he feels it will be difficult to push through plans to sign new players and to do what he wants at the club if there is no certainty over his long-term future at the football club. Now, LFC have held back on talks for the new deal since November. That was the last time any contract was mentioned for Slot. Any sort of new deal was mentioned. Now, as I said, you know, if you're so convinced that this man is your future, that this man is the manager that you think that will take you forward forevermore or for the next 3 to 4 years, then why are you not offering him a new deal? Why is there no new deal forthcoming? That for me is the question. And I've not had anyone be able to tell me a satisfactory answer to that question on what is going on with the contract situation. So look, let's get that perspective on this one. You know, I honestly don't think that he is going to get a new contract at this stage. I honestly think FSG are looking at this situation and saying, right, let's see how he does then. For the next 12 months, we'll see how he does. You know, if we start next season badly and we don't perform and we don't look like we're going to push in the title race, we don't look like we're going to do well in the Champions League, then come October, November, we can sack him and it's not going to cost us as much. But then, having said that, you know, or we let him have the whole of next season and it ends in disaster and he then leaves the club because he's got no new contract and doesn't cost us a penny, you know, which is a very FSG thing to do, isn't it? To kind of look at the situation and go, oh, we can get this done for free. We don't have to pay any money for this. Oh, we don't have to open our wallets because the moths won't escape then, and we can continue to squeak when we walk because we are so goddamn tight. So I don't know, but you know, look, that's the big question for me. If you're so convinced FSG, back him or sack him. You know, that's for me what they've got to do. Back him or sack him. There can be no in between on this one. There can literally be no in between on this one. Back him or sack him, boys. Back him or sack him. Right, look, let's move along a little bit. I get depressed with talking about the manager here. I really do. You know, it is exceptionally depressing talking about someone who is way out of their depth and shouldn't be in a job that they're currently in. Right, look, in terms of Alisson Becker, look, you know, I'm releasing a video later today talking about what's going on with his injury. You know, the fact that he's obviously could be back for the Villa game, which is good news. I think having Alisson back for the final 2 games of the season will be brilliant for Liverpool because, look, no matter what you think of Giorgio Mammalashvili, my personal opinion for what it's worth is I don't rate him. Don't think he's any good. I think he's a very average goalkeeper. I think he's a backup keeper, no more. But, you know, Alisson Becker for me, if he's back, if he's ready to play, if he's able to play, he has to start the final 2 games of the season, especially if Liverpool want to get the points that they need to progress to the next level. Now, Empire of the Cop this morning saying that there is an expectation that Alisson Becker will return to the Liverpool squad in time for the match against Villa on Friday night, having missed 2 months with a hamstring injury. There is, of course, a little bit of sort of dodginess about that, and we'll talk. As I said, I do talk about that on the video that's going to come out this afternoon, so please obviously check out that one. You know, there is a situation as well where people are talking about, even though he will be back in the squad for the Villa game, that Liverpool may not be ready to risk him, and they may decide that it would be better for Alisson to perhaps be on the bench or to not start that game, and Mammalashvili continues, and Alisson starts the last game against Brentford. Now, a lot of the talk is that obviously that could be Alisson's final game for the club. The conversation coming out of Football Mercato this morning and a number of the Italian sports publications, which there are numerous. Those of you who remember the days of Gazzetta Football Italia, James sat outside a cafe in an Italian city with a little espresso, a little pastry of some description, with the papers lined up on the table. You remember those days, guys? Brings me back to happy Saturday mornings. After a week at school, happy Saturday morning, sat watching Gazetta Football. I used to love that programme. But yeah, a lot of those saying that, according to them, that Alisson has decided that the only place that he wants to play next season is Turin, that he wants to go to Juventus next year, and it's now just being held up because Liverpool are haggling over a contract and over a fee for him. It's believed that Liverpool are looking for somewhere in the region of 15 to 20 million for Alisson. Which would be a decent return, I suppose, on a player with the injury history he's got and at the age he is. Of course, the big concern then is, where do Liverpool go in terms of goalkeepers? Who would be Liverpool's starting goalkeeper in the next season? That's the question. SSB, hello, how are you doing, buddy? But look, who would take over from Alisson next season? That would be the big worry. Now, obviously, Vítězslav Jaros will come back to the club from Ajax. He's back at the club now. He's currently injured. Hopefully, he'll be able to come back from the knee injury that he's sustained. You've got Freddie Woodman, who may well still be here next season. And, of course, the goalkeeper that we bought that apparently, allegedly, is our future number one in Giorgio Mammalashvili. Now, the stories that have come out over the last few weeks, months around the goalkeeper situation have been that Liverpool are not 100% convinced on Giorgio Mammalashvili as the future Liverpool number one. Hence all the stories linking linking Liverpool with a number of goalkeepers. A number of different prospects. Now, look, certainly in terms of that, sorry, Alisson's 15 to 20 million, mate. 15 to 20 million. SSB says Alisson is becoming more and more injury prone. Unfortunately, that is correct. SSB is correct. Now, I did a video the other day on Alisson, and I spoke about Alisson, and I said that basically he misses on average around 20 games a season over the last 3 seasons with hamstring injuries and different muscle injuries. So, it is a situation where maybe Liverpool are looking at this and saying, it's time to move on, because we want a goalkeeper who we know is going to be regularly there, so we can build a defence, we can build from the back. There's continuing uncertainty, obviously, over the centre-half positions. But in terms of Alisson, where does he go next? What is the future for Alisson? Like I said, where do Liverpool go next? Giorgio Mammalashvili, like I said, is the goalkeeper that we've brought in. And I don't think, personally, that Mammalashvili is good enough to be Liverpool's number one long-term, future number one. Look, I'm not going to sit here today and pretend to you that we're going to go and get a goalkeeper who's as good as Alisson Becker. Alisson, I think you wait until after the World Cup to get a goalkeeper. That's a good shout. I think I'm not sitting here this morning and telling you, or this afternoon, telling you that we're going to get a goalkeeper in this transfer window who is as good as Alisson, because it ain't going to happen, because there isn't very few goalkeepers you would put in the same class as an Alisson Becker. Thibaut Courtois is probably the only one that I would say there. Alisson to Serie A, says SSB. Yeah, I think that's where he's going to Juventus, mate. Giorgio is a stopgap, in my opinion. Giorgio Mammalashvili is a backup. That's what he is. He's a backup keeper. He's a Mike Hooper. He's an Adrian. He's a David James. He's not a top class goalkeeper. I don't believe. I would be looking, to Liverpool going out and getting someone who can come in and be long term the goalkeeper. Now, there was reports yesterday in a number of publications saying that James Trafford, the Manchester City backup goalkeeper, is reportedly not happy with the fact that obviously he's not getting first team football at the Etihad, and would be open to a move to Liverpool. Look, James Trafford, I think, is a good goalkeeper. Don't get me wrong. I think, under 21, he's an England 21 international. He is a decent keeper. He's homegrown as well, which I think, would obviously give us would give us some other homegrown play, given the fact we're probably going to be losing some over this transfer window. So, James Trafford obviously is someone I think could even go on to be an England regular in the future. He's a good keeper. Could be someone that Liverpool look to bring in. Now, there was also a link this morning to Emi Martinez, the Aston Villa goalkeeper, an Argentina goalkeeper. But do you need a great goalkeeper to win? And I think you do need a good goalkeeper, mate. If you look at Manchester City when they were winning titles, Edison was one of the top keepers in the country. Gianluigi Donnarumma is one of the best goalkeepers in the world. David Raya is one of the top goalkeepers. Clubs have won with a solid goalkeeper, but not necessarily the best. The best, true. I mean, you have got examples of that. I just think we need I'll be honest with you, SSP, I wouldn't even put Georgie down as a solid goalkeeper. I think Georgie is a good shot stopper, don't get me wrong, but his distribution is fucking appalling. I mean, genuinely, his distribution is so bad. So bad. He doesn't command his area particularly well. He doesn't come for crosses particularly well. His one-on-one work is okay. I think the defence look uncertain when he's back there. And I think he breeds a little sense of fear into the teams. When he's there, when he's playing as there. So, I personally don't think that you can go on long term with Giorgio Mammalashvili. I think he is not the man to be Liverpool's number one. I think he is an average goalkeeper. I think Liverpool, obviously, Emi Martinez is one they've looked at. I don't see Emi Martinez as a realistic target. He's 33 years old. You're going from one old goalkeeper to another old goalkeeper. And I'll be honest with you, Martinez is a good keeper, don't get me wrong. He's not a bad goalkeeper. He's a good backup, but more of a mid-table goalkeeper. I agree with you 100% on that one. I do think that we could do a lot better. Now, one of the keepers obviously that has been linked. One of the keepers that's been linked also. SSB says no Emi, please. Yeah, I agree, mate. I don't think we should have Emi Martinez as our goalkeeper at all. God wills, it says Mama is so bad. Yeah, look, mate, you're preaching to the converted here. I don't like Mammalashvili at all. But yeah, I think one of the keepers that I have seen mentioned, who I think would be a good pickup, but it's whether the club are willing to sell him and how much he'd cost, is Diogo Costa, the Porto goalkeeper. I think he is a very good keeper and certainly someone that I know Liverpool have paid an interest in the past. And I think he was one of the goalkeepers that Liverpool looked at when they signed Mammalashvili. So Diogo Costa is certainly someone who I do believe could be a good keeper and a good future Liverpool number one. SSB says Emi is a great pen stopper, but the antics and lack of focus at times is too much for the half. Yeah, I agree. I think Martinez has a dodgy character and he has got that bit of a loony in him. I think it's an Argentinian thing, to be honest with you. I know McAllister hasn't got it, but Argentinian goalkeepers on the whole are lunatics, aren't they? So yeah, I got to agree. I don't see Martinez. I personally, look, if it was down to me, and I know it's not down to me, it's nothing to do with me who we sign. It's down to Richard Hughes, it's down to the manager, it's down to whoever's running the football club. I would love to see Kelleher come back. I would love to see Kameen Kelleher come back. Kelleher, for me, is a top-class goalkeeper. He is an absolute top-class goalkeeper. I don't know if any of you saw the Brentford game the other day against Man City. I know Man City went on to win that, but Kelleher pulled off some absolutely outstanding saves, some absolutely brilliant saves in that game, and I thought he was absolutely first class. Really, really good. So yeah, I would personally, I'd like to see Kelleher come back. And Kelleher, for me as well, he was talking the other day, wasn't he, about how much he misses the city of Liverpool, he misses the club, he misses the Scousers, he misses the city centre. Kameen Kelleher, for me, would be the perfect player. Would be the perfect guy to bring back. He would be absolutely brilliant to bring back. I really do believe that. It was sad that he went. It was sad that he left. I know why he left, obviously, because he wanted to, be a first choice somewhere. He looked at the situation and thought, well, Alisson's going to be here for the next few years. I'm not going to get a start whilst Alisson's here. I know I get games when he's out injured, but realistically, I want to be a number one. For definite, I want to be the main man. But unfortunately, he had to go. And like I said, I'd love to see Kelleher back. I would really love to see Kameen Kelleher come back. I think I'm just annoyed that we didn't put a sell-on clause in not a sell-on clause, a buyback clause in his contract, the same way we put a buyback in Quansah's contract. I'd love to see Kelleher back. I think he would make a huge difference at this football club back again. He's a top-class goalkeeper, and he's so much better than Mammalashvili. I mean, I've said it, and I said it at the start of the season when Kelleher left and Mammalashvili came in, that he is Mammalashvili is a huge downgrade on Kameen Kelleher. So I really hope that Kelleher is someone they're looking at. I don't think he is. I think if you listen to the reports that are coming out, it's Costa, it's Martinez, it's Trafford, it's Chevalier. I don't like buyback contracts, to be honest. Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Look, I think at the end of the day, I would love to see Kelleher back between the sticks. I think if you bring Kelleher back, you've got your goalkeeper for the next 5 to 10 years there. You've got an outstanding goalkeeper. He's brilliant. There's something missing to Kelleher's game. I disagree. I like Kelleher. I think he's a top class goalkeeper, and I think he would make it. I think he's better than a lot of options. I don't think he comes back though, SSB. As much as I know you say I don't think he's it either. I don't think he comes back. I think if we're looking at goalkeepers, we're looking at Trafford, we're looking at Martinez, we're looking at Costa, we're looking at Chevalier from PSG. They're the keepers they're looking at this moment in time. But I would urge the club, and I would hope that the club would buy a new goalkeeper in the summer if Alisson leaves, because I for one, I don't think Woodman sticks around. For two, I just don't rate Giorgio Mammalashvili. He's not a number one. He's not good enough to be a number one. There's just something about him that unsettles me, and I don't know what it is. I can't quite put my finger on it. I mean, his distribution's not great. Like I said, he doesn't command his area. He's a bit Dracula on crosses. He just doesn't inspire confidence. You know, when you look at a goalkeeper and you go, confidence. You can see confidence in that guy. He's going to inspire confidence in his team. He just, to me, doesn't look like he's the sort who inspires confidence in a team. So I really hope that Mammalashvili isn't seen as being the number one. And next season, we don't go into the next season. I mean, look, ideal world, Alisson stays. Alisson plays next season. We have another 12 months of Alisson. That's what I prefer, because he's the best goalkeeper in the world still. But at the end of the day, it looks more and more likely that he's going to leave, and that's sad. And the worrying thing there, of course, is that if Alisson does depart, then that's another senior leader, that's another member of the leadership group gone. You know, Salah's going, Robbo's going. If Ali goes, you know, there's talk of Virgil going, there's talk of Curtis Jones going. That's all the leaders gone. You know, where are the leaders in this dressing room? Dom Szoboszlai obviously stands out as one possible leader, but you know, you're going to be missing a lot of leaders there for me, and that's a worry. That's a big concern. But I do believe we don't have the ability to let Alisson go. I think that is not a good move at all. And look, my only hope would be that if he does go, which, like I said, does look somewhat likely now, that we go and get someone like a Diogo Costa, like a James Trafford, like a Kameen Kelleher, someone who's going to come back in, slot back in as the number one, be the main number one. Look, guys, let me know, who would you like to see Liverpool sign as a goalkeeper? Who would be your first choice? Let me put a poll up. Who should be Liverpool's number one next season if Ali leaves? So we'll put Mammalashvili down, Vili. Let's see, we'll put Kelleher, we'll put Costa, and we'll put Trafford down. Let's put that poll up. Please vote in that poll. Guys, if you're watching, please drop me a vote in that poll. Let me know who you think and who you would start as Liverpool's number one next season. In that case, who you would like to see in between the sticks for Liverpool as the number one. Who would you go for? Please obviously drop me a vote. Let me know your thoughts on that one. Right, look, guys, obviously please smash a like on the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Please help us to continue to grow. Right, look, other things to sort of chat about was Liverpool obviously do need to buy a number of different players this summer. You know, even the Arne Slot, whether you like Arne Slot, dislike Arne Slot, whatever, you feel about Arne Slot. He's obviously said that there will be signings this summer. There will be players coming in this summer. We do need, I think, a number of different players. We need a number 6. We need a winger or wingers. I think we need 2 wingers. To be perfectly honest with you, we need 2 wingers. I mean, look, Rio and Gamoa, I think, does have to play more games next season, but Cody Gakpo is not a winger. He's just not a winger. Obviously, Mo Salah's going. Chiesa's likely to leave as well. So, obviously, I think we need a couple of wingers. I think we need to bring in another left back. I don't think we will. I think Kostas Tsimikas probably is going to be the backup left back, which worries me, which concerns me. I think you make a decision first, then get signings. What you mean in terms of the manager, SSB? Yeah, I agree. I think we do need to make that managerial decision sooner rather than later. As we said at the start of the pod, I think I'm still not convinced he's staying. I'm still not convinced that he is always there. You need a right wing and maybe a stopgap for left wing until Rio. Yeah, until Rio matures. I agree, 100% on that one. there's a number of wingers being linked with the football club. Bradley Barcola, I've seen linked, Jared Bowen, Crescencio Somerville, Yan Diamonde. We know that Anthony Gordon is not a choice. We know that Anthony Gordon is not a player we're going to look at. SSB says Kirkes is okay in my opinion, but he's too young and raw. I think Kirkes needs an experienced backup. He really does. And Kostas Tsimikas is not it for me. I think you do have to go out and get someone else and add someone else into the mixture on this one. Go and find someone else to come in and be that backup left back for me. You don't go in there with Tsimikas because, as I said on a previous video that I did, let's pretend for a minute that Kirkes gets injured and Kirkes is out. Do you really want Kostas Tsimikas as your first choice left back? Do you think Kostas Tsimikas can be the first choice left back for the rest of the season? I don't. I certainly don't. So, where do we go from there? But in terms of the wingers, like I said, Anthony Gordon is out off the table. I don't think Anthony Gordon is a realistic option. He's someone who Liverpool have already sort of distanced themselves from. There's a lot of talk at the moment around Jared Bowen, the West Ham player. I think, again, this depends a lot on what happens with West Ham. If West Ham go down, if West Ham get relegated, then, there's a strong possibility that Jared Bowen does become available. I think Jared Bowen, given the fact that he has England aspirations, given the fact that I think he does think of himself as a top level player, will want to stay in the Premier League. As much as he is, I think, a West Ham fan. I think he's obviously married to Danny Dyer as well. I know Danny Dyer's dad is Danny Dyer, who's a massive West Ham fan. But Jared Bowen is a player that's been linked, and the latest reports this morning saying that it's Liverpool versus Everton to get Jared Bowen. Which is an interesting one. Jared Bowen this season, 36 appearances, 8 goals, 10 assists. That's 18 goal contributions in a poor team, which is pretty good. Played all of the minutes, all of the starting 11s, never been subbed off. Has contributed to 43% of West Ham's goals. Played 3 FA Cup games, 2 goals in that time. Also played 1 Carabao Cup game as well. In terms of his total stats for this season, Jared Bowen has 21 goal contributions in 40 games. That's not bad at all. Not bad at all. Jared Bowen is, of course, 29 years old. That's the one thing that goes against him. His age is not great, is it? His age doesn't kind of fit the FSG profile. And FSG have kind of tried to make it, I think, a little bit clearer that it won't be a summer like last summer where we're buying ready-made players like Wirtz and Isak and Ekitike. We're buying those young players who are going to develop. And I think Bowen doesn't fit that category at all. If we keep booing, Slot will get sacked eventually. Some clubs will leverage, some don't. I don't know if it carries any weight with Hughes and Edwards though, mate. I really don't. Tsimikas is taking a step back. I agree. Liverpool need a 6. I agree. Bowen would have been good 5 years ago. Yeah, I think you're right there. Bowen's body, I think, will start to break down. Usually more explosive, chunkier guys tend to age faster in football. I personally don't think that Jared Bowen is an option. That's not someone I'd want to see at Liverpool. I really wouldn't want to see him at Liverpool. I don't think he is the sort of player that comes in and is a success here. So for me, no, not for me. Not for me at all. It seems to be this morning that I heard David Lynch talking about it would be Yan Diamonde or Bradley Barcola. Personally, I'd like two wingers. I don't think we will. I think we'll sign one. If we're only signing one, I would rather push out the boat and try and get Yan Diamonde. I think Yan Diamonde is a better player than Bradley Barcola. I'll be honest with you, I don't particularly rate Bradley Barcola. I think he's average. Bradley Barcola, to me, he reminds me too much of just Mr. Inconsistent. He reminds me, of a player who some days is great and other days he's genuine. He reminds me of Cody Gakpo. He really does remind me of Cody Gakpo, Bradley Barcola. He does. I think if you look at Yan Diamonde, he's 19 years old. He's 6 foot. You look at his numbers this season. He's played 35 games, 13 goals, 9 assists, 22 goal contributions in 35. Played over 2,000 minutes of football. Yan Diamonde is fast, he's direct, he's aggressive, he takes players on, he can play on both wings, he scores goals, he takes chances, he takes shots from outside the area, threads the ball through for others, crosses the ball. He's just an all-round top player. So I really hope that Diamonde is someone we are seriously considering. The only hold-up over Diamonde that we've seen realistically is that Liverpool would have to pay somewhere in the region of €100 million for him. We're looking at around about 80 to 90 million pounds for him. And also the fact that Leipzig don't want to particularly sell him. Leipzig apparently want him to stay as manager. So he stay as a player for another season. So, I think it would take a battle to get him out of Leipzig. But, there's a number of sources this morning claiming Liverpool are super committed to going to get Yan Diamonde. It's just about how they can structure the deal. Team Talk this morning, for example, are reporting this. Liverpool are determined to bring Yan Diamonde to Anfield in the summer transfer window, as the club's owners, FSG, obviously are FSG want to push a deal through. It is all about obviously trying to push that forward. Now, Graham Bailey, who is the football expert for Team Talk, said that on April the 21st, Liverpool had opened talks with Diamonde's agents over the deal for the winger. Liverpool's plan is to strike an agreement with the Ivory Coast international agents before this summer's World Cup. Like I said, I like Diamonde. I think he's a very good option. I think he's a very good player. The other one, of course, is Bradley Barcola. And like I said, I don't rate Barcola. SSB says Barcola has the World Cup potential, but I don't think he gets there. He says, I'm not sold on Diamonde. He was playing high school football in Florida a couple of years ago. His rise is way too fast, and those players usually have setbacks because of their growth is not linear. I mean, it's a decent enough shout, mate. I think 60 million is okay, but 100 million is too expensive. I've got to say, I do prefer him as opposed to Barcola. I think Barcola's still very much on the list for Liverpool. I think he's someone who will be available this summer. He's obviously not happy with the fact that he doesn't always get starting minutes for PSG. He hasn't agreed a new contract with them. All things are pointing towards Bradley Barcola leaving PSG in the summer. So, I mean, you look at Barcola in terms of his stats this season, in terms of his appearances for PSG, and you look at that, he's made 27 appearances for PSG, 10 goals, 2 assists, but he's only played in 59% of their starting 11s and 57% of their minutes in Ligue 1. In the Champions League, he's played in 3/4 of their games and played 66% of their minutes. Only played in half of their French Cup games as well. In terms of his appearances this season, his overall record, Bradley Barcola, he's made 46 appearances, 12 goals, 7 assists, so 19 goal contributions in 46, less impressive than Diamonde. Averages a goal every 236 minutes, whereas Diamonde averages a goal every 204 minutes. In terms of minutes played, he's played 2,831 minutes as opposed to Diamonde's 2,644. There are a number of clubs allegedly interested in Barcola. That is Bayern Munich, Arsenal, Barcelona and Liverpool, all interested in Bradley Barcola. So it does seem like he is certainly someone on Liverpool's radar, but as I've said, I would much rather see Diamonde arrive at Anfield than Bradley Barcola. Barcola is not, for me, the player. I just think that he has a lower ceiling as well than Diamonde. I think Diamonde will grow and will get better and will have a higher ceiling than Barcola. I know Barcola brings a lot more experience. Obviously, he's older. He's played more games. He's played for PSG. But I do think that Barcola will. I just don't think he's the player. I don't think he's the player. But it's going to be fascinating to see who Liverpool bring in this summer. Now, as SSB said in the live chat, guys, obviously, please, if you're watching, drop me a comment. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know your thoughts on what Liverpool need this summer. And as I've said, look, I'm still not recapping, obviously, what we said at the start of the pod. I'm still not 100% sold on Slot staying. I personally don't think there's any way back for him. I don't think there is a real possibility that he stays. or he should stay. For me, like I said, there is no mitigation for this man. Look, obviously a 6 is something that I think we desperately need. You know, realistically, you look at it, and I'll be honest with you, the guy, you know, I think you look at Ryan Gravenberch. Ryan Gravenberch has not had the season that he had last season, but I think even last season he wasn't really a 6. He wasn't really a top 6. So, you know, for me, I think you're looking at needing to go out and get someone to go out and get a 6, and there's a number of candidates I think we should be looking at. Now, two of the strongest mentions have been Lamine Camara and Mahamadou Sangare. Welcome, League One. I just sub. Thank you very much for your sub. I think Barkley isn't as electric as Diamonde. Imagine Diamonde and Rio is. Yeah, I agree. I think Diamonde and Rio strike fear into the hearts of. You've only got to look at the comments that were made about Rio post Fulham game, post Everton as well, where defenders said they're absolutely petrified of him. They're petrified of him. You know, he goes one way, he goes. Chelsea couldn't cope with him. Chelsea were at one point, I don't know whether you saw, but there was 3 or 4 players on Rio at one point during the Chelsea game. He does terrify people, and I agree, League One. I agree, mate. I think we should be having at least, going in for and getting someone like a Diamonde to play on the other side. I think it would be electric. It would be very, very exciting indeed. Definitely up for that one, buddy. Definitely up for that one. Right, look, let's have a little look. So the 6s that we've been interested in, Lamine Camara and Mahamadou Sangare, seem to be the 2 top options there. I don't really see Wharton as a 6. I think if you go and get Wharton, you've still got to go and get a 6. To me, Wharton's not a 6. Not a real out-and-out 6. Lamine Camara, he's 22 years old, currently with Monaco in France, valued at around about 35 million euros, so about 30 million pounds. I think you're looking at probably more around 40 to 50 million to get him out of Monaco. This season made 23 appearances in Ligue 1, 1 goal, 4 assists, played in 64% of their starting 11s and has had 59% of their minutes. Has also made 6 appearances in the Champions League and 1 appearance in the French Cup. Lamine Camara is touted as a very highly regarded midfielder. He's aggressive. He's an aggressive ball winner with good creativity and progressive passing. He's known for high intensity pressing, composure in tight spaces. He acts as a hybrid 6-8 playmaker. Has elite stats in recoveries, duels won, and goal creating actions. So, you know, Lamine Camara for me really does, you know, that's from FB Ref, stand out as a top player. He really does. And certainly someone that Liverpool should be taking a look at this summer. I think he is a player who could have a very big future and really come in and solve that 6 problem at the club. I think he is a top player. I do like Lamine Camara as a player. Like I said, the other one is Mahamadou Sangare, who is currently plying his trade with Lens in France. Now, in terms of Mahamadou Sangare, let me tell you a little bit about him. Mahamadou Sangare, like I said, is this Lens midfielder. Again, another player who Liverpool have allegedly scouted this summer. Like I said, he's a left-footed Malian player, international, dominant ball winner, elite passer who has drawn interest from Liverpool, Manchester United and Chelsea. Has a valuation of £30 million. Apparently Sangare is arguably the best defensive midfielder in France, leading Ligue 1 in tackles and interceptions. He ranks in the 100th percentile for ball recoveries per 90, demonstrating exceptional coverage and reading of the game. His progressive passing is also very, very good as well. Has the technical skill and ability to break lines in the way that he plays. So again, Mahamadou Sangare is another player who, again, Liverpool are apparently paying an interest in. Now, I would really hope that, you know, in terms of Mahamadou Sangare and in terms of Lamine Camara, these are players that we need to be looking at and need to be looking to bring in this summer. So I definitely think those are good options in that 6th position. Look, guys, again, let me know your thoughts on that one. Who would you bring in to play at that 6th position for Liverpool? It's going to be a summer where whoever the manager is, And I think, as I've said, and as LSSB said, we need to make a decision sooner rather than later on who the manager is. We need to know who the boss is going to be. Now, I heard talk this morning on another podcast that I was listening to this morning. I don't know, how reliable this information is, but people were talking this morning that, that if Liverpool are very much not sold on Xabi Alonso, which seems to be the case, that a manager they are looking at seriously, apparently, is a guy who is the closest thing to another Jurgen Klopp that we can get, which is Sebastian Hoeneß, who is the current manager of Stuttgart. He has, in terms of stats for this season, he's managed 51 games this season for Stuttgart. He's won 29 of them. He's drawn 7, lost 15, has a 1.84 points per match average. Has spent time at Bayern Munich and Leipzig. So he's another guy who's come through the Leipzig system. And we all know that Liverpool like a Red Bull player. They like a Red Bull coach. They do like the Red Bull system. He is 44 years old, so he's still fairly young in terms of his managerial career. But he plays a very similar style to Jurgen Klopp. He's apparently a highly tactical. This is the review from the Bundesliga on Hoeneß. He's a highly regarded tactical possession-based German coach. He's turned Stuttgart from relegation candidates into a top team there. He uses a combination of 4-2-3-1, 3-4-3 and 4-3-3 systems. He's known for developing young talent, which obviously at Liverpool would be fantastic because Arne doesn't seem to like young talent at the football club. Obviously, Trainioni, Rio and Gamoa. He plays a high intensity pressing style, versatile tactically. He's drawn comparisons to Hansi Flick, the Barcelona manager, in terms of the way he sets up and plays. He focuses on smart, controlled possession, building from the back with a high defensive line, but not playing slowly. He utilises the fullbacks to create overloads, which may suit someone like a Jeremy Frimpong, for instance. He plays an aggressive pressing style. His teams employ high-energy, aggressive counter-press, aiming to quick ball recovery, vertical, fast-paced attacking movements, aiming to win the ball back as high as possible. So again, Hoeneß very much seems to me like a Jurgen Klopp disciple, someone that is similar to Klopp in the way that he likes to play football. So, there's certainly talk that Hoeneß could be someone that Liverpool would look at if they did move on from Arne Slot, which, look, you've got to hope happens sooner rather than later. Right, guys, in terms of the poll that we started and we ran, we asked, who would you like to see as Liverpool's number one next season if Ali leaves? 50% of you voted for Kelleher, 22% for Mamardashvili, 21% for Costa, and 7% for Trafford. Lee says, is there any possibility we get a more experienced six since we are losing a few experienced players? I think it's great to bring in young players, but I don't know. The only thing I'd say about that League One is that, I'm hopefully saying your name right, is I think FSG are reverting back to type. They're going back to that we make superstars, we don't sign superstars. We bring in players to develop, players to improve, players to kind of bring through. I suppose the most obvious candidate, if you're looking for someone with a bit more experience, certainly in terms of Premier League experience, is you're probably looking at someone like a Mateus Fernandes at West Ham. Although he is only 21 years old, he does obviously have Premier League experience, but he's another player Liverpool have been linked with. Looking at the links we're getting League One, I don't think we're going to go for experienced players this summer. I think it's very much a case of looking for young players who will develop, who will improve, who will get better, and that seems to be the direction we're now heading in with these players. So I don't think it will be a case of, but I hear your argument. I do think we need leaders. I think we're lacking in leaders. I think maybe there's a hope that we can find leaders from within the dressing room if, we see the likes of Ali, Curtis leave. We know that Mo and Robbo are going, but obviously, the likes of Dom Szoboszlai steps up the likes obviously of Alexis McAllister, if he stays, steps up as well. We bring leadership from those guys, Florian Wirtz to some degree. So, I think there's probably a hope that those are the guys that step it up next season. Right, guys, that is it for this afternoon. Thank you to all of you who've commented. If you're catching the podcast after the fact, please still drop me a comment. Please like, comment, share, and more importantly, subscribe to the channel. Help us to keep growing. It's been fantastic speaking to you this morning. Thank you to those who've commented. Been great having the commenters in the live chat. That's the way I like it. Commenters in the live chat really does help us develop the channel and improve and turn this into a conversation rather than just one person talking. Thanks for watching the Liverpool FC Wire Pod, the Wire Live. I will catch you very soon. Keep looking out for channel videos and keep supporting. Thanks for watching. See you soon.